Welcome to my channel. I'm the cover call guy, and my goal is to create $120,000 per year passive income using only cover call ETFs. Currently, I yield about $70,000 a year and about $6,000 a month from my portfolio. Legal disclaimer before we start this video. This content is for informational and educational purposes only and is not financial advice. I am not a licensed financial advisor or tax professional. All opinions are my own and may be incorrect. Trading and investing involve risks, including loss of principal. Please always do your own research and consult a licensed professional before making financial decisions. I'm just some random idiot you found online and I could be completely wrong. And today's video is not really anything about cover calls per se. It's more of a, I guess, a rant, and it's been something that's been weighing on my mind for a while. Sometimes it just makes me sway, thinking like, what's the whole point of of investing if investing is even going to be worth it? And it's because especially during the height of COVID, for those who are American living in America, and the whole COVID uh, stimulus checks that was paid out, from 20 like ending of 2019, beginning of 2020 to like 2023, like 7 trillion or 8 trillion dollars was printed, and basically that's what's leading to the problems we have right now with high inflation. The stock market all-time high, but at the same time, if inflation is all-time high, did you really gain anything, right? Housing is an all-time high, credit card debt is an all-time high, auto delinquency is an all-time high. It's like, what exactly, what is that exactly is the point of investing? And then, lately, Trump and his administration has been publicly saying like he's trying to destroy the dollar on purpose. He's trying to weaken the dollar, make the dollar lose value. And I'm just like, man, what is the point of all this? Will investing even, you know, stay on pace? So things like this makes me question, what I'm doing, but I stay true to myself. Investing is the only way to get out of this, or at least match, if not stay ahead of a little bit of what's going on. Because if you don't invest, then you are completely out of the cycle. You would never be able to catch back up because it would just devour you, right? And yeah, I just put together some slides about what Trump publicly is saying, his administration, what he's doing, global affairs, what could be possibly the next moves. Like, I've been saying it in my other videos how I would be shifting strategies, and I just wanted to make this video to try to put together something so I can rant about, because this has been weighing on my mind for a while. We're gonna just talk about Trump's dollar strategy, destroying the dollar on purpose. I think it's pretty much like a controlled demolition, because it is, right. Like, headline metrics are masking a fracturing real economy. We all know the U.S. economy is right now on shambles. If Nvidia did not make that earnings call, the whole market, the whole world would have collapsed. All right, the administration is orchestrating a structural reset, a transition from a consumption-based financial model to a neo-mercantilist production economy. This is not an accident; it is an intentional dismantling of a 40-year neoliberal consensus. So basically, it's just they're trying to reset everything, right? They're trying to shift more wealth up top, while everybody, it's basically that saying, you will own nothing and you will be happy type of way. And it just makes me feel like, man, if you don't own some type of asset in the stock market, own some, like a piece of real estate, you're screwed. Like, and being a millennial, I feel the same weight of the Gen Z. It's sometimes I feel like it's impossible to catch up, but I know I gotta keep my pace and I gotta just keep what I'm doing. But seeing these headlines and seeing what they're trying to purposely do to the U.S. dollar, it's like, yeah, it just makes me lose faith sometimes. It makes me feel like we can no longer play the game, right? You take 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 25 years ago. If you played the game or you just kind of like hop in and out of the game, you've made it. You made it far in life. If you played the game, you made it very far. But now it's just like it's just spend your money because it's gonna be worthless, right? That's the whole Gen Z mindset. And at some point, I do feel like at some point in my life, I was like that because it just felt like what was the point of saving, investing, and doing all that, you know? So you know, I'm staying the course, but there are days I think the mindset of just like, oh man, give up, And then the whole tariff dividend narrative. I think it's very stupid. I know a lot of people might disagree with me in saying, "Hey, look, like they're giving back our money," but it's not really. I wouldn't really say it's your money, right? Even though even though they kind of tax the lower class, the middle class, right? The proposed $2,000 check are framed as a dividend from trade war revenues, but research reveals this is a political instrument to mask the inflationary pain of 2026, which that is exactly it. If for those who are American and lived in the United States, what happened after the stimulus checks came out? The whole thing, the whole price shot up, right? We're living it right now, literally living it right now. The whole reason Trump is giving out $2,000 checks is because people are suffering. People are living paycheck to paycheck, probably not even paycheck to paycheck. Credit card debt is an all-time high. Consumer debt is all-time high. Auto delinquency is all-time high. I mean, people are not paying their note. People are not paying their debt. That people aren't paying the rent, mortgages, defaulting. People are in pain, and then giving out $2,000 checks. And Trump was like, I think it was only for people making under 100,000. But even then, what are these people gonna do with it? All they're gonna do is dump it right back to the market and cause a global supply chain shock again. I would much rather have that money pay down the debt, just pay it down. That way, there's less pressure on American citizens, right? So, Trump's goal is to cushion the electoral against the shock of 2026 midterms and the TCJA expiration date. That's I think that's a tax. And but the reality is that it's a preemptive liquidity bridge, not a surplus distribution. There, it's all BS. Once you give that money out, it's not like they're gonna go out and build businesses and expand, right? People who make under a certain amount of money, they're living paycheck to paycheck. They're gonna go out. Most of them, hopefully, actually, what they did with the stimulus check, what did happen? Luxury spending went up. What do you think is gonna happen with people who don't have a job or don't care about having a job, who just leech off the government anyway? And what do you think they're gonna do with the $2,000? They're just gonna cause another global supply chain shock, and that's gonna spike up prices even more. All right, the fiscal reality, right? So they're projected at 150 million adults at 2K. That's 300 to 664 billion. Tariff revenue was only about 217 billion. Immediate shortfall is anywhere from 83 to 447. As you can see, it's all deficit spending. It's 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 only going to create a bigger hole. This is going to kill up not even like upper middle class would be able to survive this if the price keeps spiking. That means people making over $200,000 is going to start feeling the pain. The upper middle class, I would say 200,000. Yeah, and depending on where you live, maybe 250. People are going to start feeling the pain. Once they start feeling it, and once they start, because they're the one that's holding up the economy right now. They're the one that still do the spending, right? They're the one that still buy the new car. They still have money to fix up their homes and or purchase homes, right? So once they start feeling pain and they start contracting on their spending, that's when the economy is gonna go to the dumpster. And like I said about it, the inflationary feedback loop, right? Um, all they're doing when giving out these checks is just subsidizing the spiral. Tariff act as a consumption tax, raising prices. distribution, uh, distributing checks funded by those levies create a dangerous feedback where it loops liquidity chases artificial expensive goods, just like how giving out those stimulus checks, and for COVID, uh, pandemic check contributed to 2.6% of to the sequential inflation. So if we are trying to maintain inflation, it pretty much doubled it. And then the risk here, of course, is the price wage subsidy spiral, where the government subsidized inflation and created de-anchoring expectations. So then it's just always gonna do is make everything go up, because then now business know everybody has money, right? So what are you gonna do? And more money in the supply too. So now everything is worth less. So they're gonna shoot up the price another 10-20%. Groceries are already expensive. Outside of my mortgage, grocery bills are the second most expensive. Well, maybe besides healthcare, but yeah, I mean, it's tough because I think about this, and sometimes I sit here doing my research. I'm like, man, I know if I keep going this path, I will hit my $10,000 a month fairly quick, and I might reach my $15,000 a month by 2030. But then I'm like, well, if they keep going this path, 10-15K a month, it's gonna be like, it's not gonna be anything, and for the most part, right? I mean, living in where I want to live in a city in the United States, right? I'm gonna have to definitely move out. I'm gonna have to go somewhere. I don't know. Maybe one of the subscribers that request a video. Maybe I move to Brazil with them. I don't know. It's tough. I feel like I feel like many people feel the way I feel. Like we're trapped at times. It's depressing to think about, but keep pushing, right? Keep pushing. Right, the Mar-a-Lago Accord, right? I just nicknamed it, and then the architect is just Stephen Myron. Is one of Trump's policy advisors. Right, his thesis argues that U.S. dollar is an exorbitant burden. Structural demand for the USD reserve overvalues for the currency, crushing the U.S. manufacturing competitiveness. So they're trying to devalue it so it can make us more competitive, which is stupid, in my opinion. The objective, purposeful devaluation of dollar to restore industrial capacity. The strategy, coercive geopolitical negotiation, treating the strong dollar as a national security threat, which is so dumb. When you're doing that, you're hurting the American people more than anything, just to bring back a few jobs. And even then, the companies are not going to hire Americans. It's just not. You're not going to beat $5 an hour wage anywhere else in the world. I just don't see a point in this. I just don't. Like I can see tariffs being good for a minimal, sector. Like we should have anything that does national, like defense sector, has to be built in the United States. Pharmaceutical, anything, medicine, anything related to hospitals, pills, those has to be manufactured in the United States. But outside of that, why would we want to bring back factories that just destroys our environment? Nobody wants to be drinking. Nobody wants to live and be drinking water near a factory or breathing that air. It's I don't know. Maybe I have subscribers that sees the other side of it and say it's good, but to me, destroying our environment for I don't know what 20, 25, 30, $35 an hour, is that worth it? I don't know. I don't know. I don't see the worth in it. I think it's dumb. All right, mechanics of the accord, right? This is just basically what they're trying to pull is the century bond swap. This is the longest. There could be longer bonds, but this is typically the longest. It just forces allies to swap short-term treasuries for 100-year bonds. This locks in capital and reduces dollar liquidity, dampening the demand. User fee and reserves. A proposed tax about 1%, I think 1 or 2% on foreign holdings of U.S. assets to penalize trade surpluses and disincentivize dollar hoarding, and then security leverage, explicitly linking U.S. defense guarantees to economic compliance, military support to become a transactional service. So that's what they're trying to do. They're just trying to de de-link the dollar basically, which is kind of dumb, but I don't know. Maybe there's a larger plan ahead, but I think overall this would hurt the American people. And then of course there's the global resistance, right? The world is pushing back. China fears Japanification and may devalue the yuan instead. Japan faces a dilemma where forced yen appreciation could crush its export economy. Europe lacks the dynamism to absorb a shock. So all of them are trying to just resist what Trump is doing right now for the U.S. dollar, the U.S. economy, and it's making everything very uncertain right now, as you can see with the market being going swaying and crashing. A lot of things just uncertain. There's policies that they flip flop, back and forth. So yeah, it's just a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt right now, and the market does not like that. So and then going off the 2026 fiscal cliff, the convergence of crisis. I think the TCJA tax cuts expires in 2026. Correct me if I'm wrong. Extending them would cost about $5 trillion. In a normal market, this is impossible because this is a gamble, right? Use a century bond coercion to force foreign central banks to fund this extension at low yields. The risk is that if the bluff is called, if people start backing out, like China, Europe, Japan, the U.S. faces a sovereign debt crisis and forced austerity, which basically would means we could end up defaulting, and when we default, we'll be pretty much screwed. A lot of other countries is going to start finding a new reserve currency, and that's when the shit show really begins. Right, the K-shaped disintegration, while AI capex prep up the GDP from the tech stock boom and all that. The industrial core is in a silent depression, and I made a video about this on Home Depot and on a whole bunch of other stuff. The housing, right, manufacturing PMI is contracting, and inventories are spiking. A classic recession signal masked by tech spending. So you know, tech may be doing somewhat well right now, that we can kind of you know guess, because it could be in a bubble. A lot of people are saying, and once that bursts and everything goes down, then the blue is going to go down right next to the orange. And I mean, let's talk about the shadow banking wall. What that is just there's about 1.5 to $2 trillion in private credit assets. They face a maturity wall in 2025 to 2026. These floating rates loans originated at zero interest. I think around the COVID time. I think pretty much when everyone was borrowing, when the rates was pretty much at zero. Now face refinancing at double the cost. Defaults here could trigger a systematic contagion, right? There's a reason why, if you are American, or you're not American but you catch up on the American news, Trump has been trying to play these political games. He's been trying to get rid of Jerome Powell, because he wouldn't cut the rates fast enough, and there's a reason why we're cutting the rates now. It's because of this. If they are not able to refinance, they would default, and it would just trigger a domino effect, far worse than 2008. For those who experienced 2008, yeah, far worse. It makes 2008 look like a blip. And of course, consumer stress indicators, right? Credit. I talked about this in the beginning. Credit card delinquency, auto loan delinquency, household debt. Right, delinquency has spiked to levels unseen since 2011, signaling the consumer has hit a saturation point. Everyone's tired. Everyone's just burnt out. Everyone has no more money. Everyone's just borrowing money to pay off bills, and then the whole thing just keeps adding up and up and up and up. And at some point, people will just stop paying altogether. As you can see, delinquency, they're not even paying. Right, they're just hiding the cars and using it and trying not to get caught. And then credit card delinquency, people are just not paying. People don't care anymore. And basically, they're just opening up new cards, use the max it out, whatever, and then open up a new card, and they just keep repeating the cycle until they can't. That's what it is. right? The credit and cap trap, right? Some of these cover call um examples, right? The trap is that RX cover call ETFs like RYLD, I think in my opinion, could have small cap debt, right? The risk is that it holds small cap companies heavily exposed to the maturity wall. You are seeing upside on zombie companies while taking 100% of the default risk. The outcome is high yield but capital destruction as credit tightens, right? And then something like the Fortress Divo holding quality stock. I think a lot of you guys should start rotating out of this, myself included. I hold the Divo's sister cover call ETF, Q Divo. Focuses on YMO companies with pricing power, right? Inflation defense, tactically right calls to preserve upside. So I think this is one of the ways to try and just buffer and not take too much pain. We're all gonna feel pain, but we don't want to feel the full blunt of it. So just my thoughts and opinion on this. Strategic pivot, right? The income stack. One, I think I should really start making moves on going global, right? And invest in unhedged international dividends. As the dollar falls, foreign currency dividends translate into more dollars. Hold hard asset defense. I allocate to MLPs and short duration rates. These assets have pricing power to pass inflation through immediately. And active buffer, right? Use active cover qualities, screen cover calls like JEPI for domestic exposure um, to avoid the junk companies most at risk and in a credit crunch. So some moves that you can be thinking about if you're not all into cover calls, right? Um, I'll be looking into cover call ETFs, which kind of hold this, and I think NEOS is a good one. So I've just been kind of putting a lot of things on my watch list and slowly seeing how far the market drops, and then as it starts to have a flat line, then I'm gonna start kind of opening up positions. That's my thought process right now. I'm seeing what I'm missing in my portfolio. What sectors. So yeah, not really sure the next move. It's just on my watch list right now. Just kind of thinking. All right. Of course, I got to put the warning, right? Liquidity trap, right? Avoid internal funds. Retail investors are chasing yield in internal funds and private credit ETFs. These funds hold illiquid loans but offer liquid redemption terms. What that just means that there's the danger of that when the ma- maturely maturity wall hits. These funds may gate redemptions, meaning you can't redeem it, right? You can't sell to get your money. Um, yeah, a lot of people should stay away from these type of cover call ETFs and interval funds because they will lock you out. The house always get paid first, not you. Right, my verdict here is right. Always try to pivot, right? Pivot or perish. I'm always trying to stay ahead of the game. I'm always trying to make sure I'm on the right path or be able to turn to the right path, right? I'm avoid right now. I'm avoiding all passive at the money funds that sells all the upside during a currency devaluation. Right? It's effectively shorting my own inflation hedge, right? Mathematical trap. It's a lose lose. I am accumulating active out of the money. I'm screening for quality to avoid credit risk and to keep the upside potential for the open inflationary melt-up. And I am going to start buying international dividends, right? Like IDVO, right? I want to have some exposure to the international market. Right now, I don't think I have any. I think it's all U.S. domestic. So I think my next one should be a international buy. Um, yeah, let me know if you guys think and feel the same way because I'm pretty sure it's like 96% of my portfolio is U.S. domestic. I don't even know what the other 4% is. I have to check. But yeah, I don't have any foreign international cover call ETFs at the moment. Just a lot on my watch list. Just seeing what's a good buy. Um, I'm patient. So some people just buy no matter what, which is nothing wrong with that either. Nothing wrong with that either. All right, man. It's the era of a creative destruction, right? I mean, people are really especially right now, the next 3 years until we get new administration, right? The economy is demolished to be rebuilt. I think that's what they're trying to do right now, what they're doing right now. The danger for investor lies in mistaking the demolition for the end rather than the transition, right? We got to be able to move on to the next. I'm always planning. I'm always, thinking of the next, scheming kind of, stay ahead of the game. But yeah, this is just more of a rant radio, not really anything about like the next new hype cover call ETFs and what's good, what's bad. You know, it's just been on my mind for a while, and I just want to make this video because um, I think once those $2,000 dividend check hits, it's gonna be another wild ride, and it's gonna be short term pleasure, and it's gonna be another long term pain again. Yeah, that's all. I hope you enjoyed my rant. The next video will be a little bit more productive and more educational, entertaining, informative. Thanks for listening to my long 26-minute rant. Subscribe, comment, like. I'll see you guys on the next. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching.